Okay, welcome back to the second match of Oxford versus Cambridge. I'm Thomas.
I'm Dan, and the player of the first match for Oxford, who was mercilessly crushed.
And now we have
Um,
Tomo Gwai from Oxford versus Aftershock from Cambridge. Um, but I think the Oxford player has not yet added us.
yeah, we're just waiting to.
Can you tell the Oxford player to add us? Yes.
So on the mage side, it looks like some kind of control mage.
Whereas on the Hunter side, I think it's going to be a typical mid-range Hunter.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only hunter archetype at the moment. King Marsh, not particularly what the hunter's looking for there from the Jewel McCall.
But he is going to curve out very well, as we can see, so we have to see
Yeah,
what Mage is going to do. Probably passing this turn to maybe coin out the Acolyte in the next one.
yeah, into Arcane Intellect or something like that. But yeah, it's a
Could
very
also
nice
try
curve
to
from the
prevent
hunter.
the Adept from the new Crackling Razor Maw by coining out a
The hero
ping,
power,
but
yeah.
he would not have a good follow-up on turn 2, so I think he made the correct play by waiting.
Yep.
But now we're going to see the Adept, um, and probably the Death Rattle here, which is very, very strong on the 1-1.
Yep. So
Yeah. Probably the Frostbolt on the 3-2.
yeah, I mean, if you coin out the Acolyte, it trades very poorly into the 3-2, dying in one shot for only one draw, so that's not really what you're looking for. And there's nothing to coin out here, so that should be the end of the turn.
And now it's probably going to be the
Just
Animal Companion, I guess.
yeah, it's
Always
it's
Huffer,
the
as
only
we
play
know.
on only play that's on curve here. Interesting to see the flare in the deck. Tech choice that might actually
It's not Huffer, it's Misha.
might matter in this game if the mage gets a nice block up or something like that.
Although I think it's probably mostly a attack against Freeze Mage, and we're not going. It's not a Freeze Mage we are seeing here, or is it? Is he going to? I mean, the primordial glyph is slightly unusual here, I would say, but
Yeah, it's
I guess it's
it's quite hard.
probably
It's quite
aiming
hard
for
to
some
tell.
freeze mechanics later on, which we haven't seen yet. I mean, the Acolyte and the Arcane Intellect all point towards the Freeze Mage.
Yeah, I mean, of course they can be also running kind of control burn mage, but
But we haven't seen a quest. So I
we
think
haven't seen a
yeah.
frost
No, that
nova.
I think that
Okay,
that seals it. That is, we very much have a Freeze Mage here, and then the Flare is going to be absolutely devastating,
absolutely. If he plays it just as he's
having lethal.
having lethal damage, yeah,
So it's looking very, very dire for Cambridge this time. I'm not sure whether Aftershock is able to withstand the pressure here from the Hunter.
yeah. So it looks like just the crackling raise more and the hero power.
It's probably going for the Flaming Claws here.
Yeah, just get
Just,
that
yeah,
damage in,
get the damage in.
put the pressure on. As we can see, the mage doesn't really have a fantastic answer for the board at the moment.
But he could
He
try to
could,
just cover a spell.
yeah,
Fireball yeah, Misha isn't a bad play, but the damage is just piling on, and there's
absolutely.
no good way
He
to
just
stall
needs
the
to
game.
stop the bleeding somehow.
And we should also note that Tomogwai's board is quite resilient, so two Death Rattles are going to spawn more beasts, so
Yeah,
he can just continue even if you would see the Flame Strike on turn 6.
yeah.
Um, Maybe Ice Block and the
Dandy's
Valet,
valet onto the 3-2. I think
that's a play.
because he certainly needs to get the ice block down at some point. Um,
And I mean, he's developing a board at least. I'm not sure whether he's. Well, the High Main or King Mosh could see play of both. Wait, not the King Mosh. Oh, that's the other way. The other numbers around.
I
Sorry.
think it's.
Yeah,
I think
that's 9.
you just got to drop the high main
Yeah,
here, haven't you?
yeah.
again, this is what we're talking about. If the Flame Strike or the Blizzard comes out, it's all three minions death rattles. It's
Well, he could destroy the grandmother and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
then play Blizzard. That would leave Tomagwai
Two
with
one
two one
ones for
ones
the
and a frozen high main.
yeah.
And next turn he could clear up everything with a flame strike. But by then he might already be very near breaking point. Well, could this be lethal already? If we had, say, a Leok or a Huffer, that would be Huffer would be 6 damage plus the hero power and the
Not
flare.
quite,
No, not quite.
not quite. But it it's difficult. You don't really want to overcommit because you kind of expect the Flame Strike. Um,
It's actually not such a straightforward turn for Hunter this time.
no, a lot of kind of situational cards in his hand. The Deadly Shot, the Flare, not really of use at the moment. King Mosh, obviously that's out of range. The
I
Alley
mean,
Cat,
yeah.
not particularly impactful.
And I mean, just using the flare to clear this one secret is not what Hunter wants, because it is going to be the one key card at the end that's going to win him the
Absolutely.
game.
If they use it to clear the secret now, they could Mage might just play another Ice Block
And I mean, Deadly Shot isn't a bad idea, because it means that the high main is probably going to survive, so it
yeah,
could have been...
just playing it for
Yeah.
the tempo really. Oh,
I think that's about game. He could try to discover another spell,
with the glyph, yeah.
maybe hope for the Frost Nova. And we have the greater arcane missiles aren't going to be of any use. Forbidden
The arcane
Flames,
missiles
no.
might take out the 1/1s, but it's. I mean, the high main would be lethal anyway.
We could ping and Forbidden Flame, but that would be lethal for the Hunter and the
Yeah,
Flare.
you'd leave
I
out
think this is
the
game.
2/2s.
It's a very tough matchup, I think, for Freeze Mage, always against Hunter. Especially a Hunter with
Especially with
such a
this
great
tech.
start.
Yeah,
And then with the Flare tacked in.
he is going to go for the greater arcane missiles.
But that's not going to clear. I mean, it might have been the best pick, given that it's going to be reduced by 2. But he's not going to play it now, and that's it.
Just banking on his ice block protecting from return and waiting to try and draw some better answers to the board. But
That's it. No bad manners this time, just straight on Flare and the high main. So this was game 1 of Aftershock vs Tomagwai, and it's 1-0 for Oxford in this match.
that's right. So that leaves Tomagwai with the Paladin only, and what was the second deck for?
Mage? Wait, Rogue? Mage?
Rogue, yes,
Yeah,
that
Rogue,
was it. Rogue.
So Rogue is also a very interesting choice. It's not necessarily tier 1 at the moment, I would say, but it can be very strong against aggro.
So there's only really 2 Rogue decks at the moment. It's Quest Rogue and Miracle Rogue. But we come out with the Mage again, and the Paladin looks to be a
Murloc.
Okay, with some hand buffs. Okay,
That's
looks to be quite an aggressive.
That looks like a very aggressive
Design.
and also almost zoo-like paladin. Lots of very cheap creatures. The buffs that we don't see that often, except in Arena, where it's very, very strong.
Looks. I mean, coin out the. Okay. He might have been considering coining out the Grime
The
Street.
Hydrologist or the Grime Street? Yeah.
Perhaps.
But probably he has mostly creatures in his deck, so it doesn't make a huge difference whether he uses the
and
buff.
you want to get
on this
the kind
one.
of the Murloc train rolling early.
And saving the coin against Freeze Mage. Yes, I think it's defensible as a choice.
This Doomsayer coming down here is quite significant. But he could perhaps just he could play the Grime Street Informant
I think I would still play the Grime Street. It
just
will
for the.
buff at least 4 creatures, but
Oh,
he's deciding
he
just to
decides
go
not to.
face. Um, that's certainly the less aggressive play here, and I'm not sure whether
Yeah,
it's the right one, because Freeze Mage, as we all know, has an enormous amount of board clears at his disposal, and it could just mean that if he doesn't get him down quickly enough,
yeah.
all his
You've got to get that
yeah.
damage in before the Blizzard and Flame type turns, otherwise it could be quite difficult.
And this time I would say that Aftershock's hand looks quite good. He can next round he can play the Iconologist and the Loot Hoarder, filling up his hand again, getting a bit of a board presence.
Yeah,
And here too, yeah, this is
this is very nice. The Acolyte can farm the 1/1 for an extra draw.
so maybe even Iconologist and ping on the Acolyte to get full 3 cards out of the Acolyte of Pain.
Perhaps that
Well,
doesn't really change anything. You definitely play the Archanologist over that. The Midi's Valet.
yeah, you could think about frostbolting the 3/3, but I think with that little burn on his hand, Freeze Mage probably wants to save all his spells. And maybe just the Loot Hoarder. I think
Yeah,
that's a
trying
good play.
to draw into some more burn. Alex Strauser was kind of,
And he
I
does
suppose,
not have a board
against
clear yet.
yeah, against this more aggressive deck, the ball clear is definitely the most important thing.
So what could Tomogwai's play be here? He could try to buff the 3/3 to give it 2 more health, but that's probably only a play you want to make if you have more Murlocs out
Yeah,
already.
absolutely. And these Discoverer Murlocs, they're quite slow, really.
But maybe if he picks out like something like the Grimscale Chum, which I think is going to be very strong, he could
Yeah,
also make the because it fills out his mana very nicely.
yeah,
But the Cold Light is also very, very tempting against Freeze Mage because it could mean Freeze Mage usually has a lot of cards on his hand, and it could actually mean that he
he could
overdraws,
mill. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
burning something like the Alex Strasser
Yeah,
or
the
an
cheap Murloc, very,
Antonidas.
very nice here, for especially combination with the Oracle.
And I could see maybe an Ice Barrier and the Valet that would fill out the curve
Yeah,
very nicely. Maybe draw first with the Loot Hoarder because you would probably want to clear the board anyways. So you could try to Loot Hoarder and Acolyte into the 3/3, then see what you get. Maybe the Ice Barrier, then the Valet on the 4/3,
yep.
and then finally
The
clear the
2/3
Chum
into
out
the.
with the 2/3. And I think that's precisely what we're going to see right now.
Hmm. And of course, he does have the opportunity to discover some ball clears with the Primordial Glyphs. Um,
I think Aftershock is in a very, very strong position here. I mean,
going,
to be
sorry.
sorry. To be sure, I mean the Tomagwai has a few buff Murlocs on his hand. He's probably able to establish a good board presence within 1 or 2 turns. But then we have the Frost Nova. We might have the board clears from the Primordial Glyphs, as you said, and that's going to be probably game then.
I mean, yeah, the Freeze Mage will be very happy going into the Paladin's turn 5 with them with no board, and you've only taken 4 points of damage. That's
And I mean,
couldn't really ask for much
what
more
I
than that.
find interesting about the game is, in a way, that we see one of the very classic decks of Hearthstone that have been around for ages, which
Yep.
is Freeze Mage, and then quite a new one, which is only the buffing your minions in the hand. That's very much a 2016-17 Hearthstone deck here, and it's interesting to see that the classic one is still able to outperform
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the new one.
Of course, some additions to the Freeze Mage from the recent sets, but of course the main idea that's a very I wouldn't have expected that.
That's a very conservative turn, trying to maybe even a bit greedy, trying to get as much value out of possible of the cards in the hand. But it's so he probably wants to discover another Murloc with a Primal Fin Lookout.
Hmm. I mean, he might maybe he could have played Finger that turn, and next turn he could have played two Murlocs, maybe the Lookout and the Oracle, or the Lookout and the War Leader,
I
or the
agree.
War Leader
Finja
and
would
the
have
Oracle,
been.
because
It's
he
yeah.
guarantees the buff from the Oracle.
And it's also very easy for a freeze mage to clear this one out. It's already his board basically, so you can just trade off everything, ping off the 1/1. Although he could, yeah, I think that's actually the better play here. He can still remove the 3/4, and the 1/1 is actually now a disadvantage
Available
for
for the trade
Tomoboy
with
because
the
it could give another card through the Acolyte.
yeah.
Maybe he's thinking about Divine Favor here. Maybe that's precisely what he wants. He could play Repentance, the Blue Jewel Warrior, and then uh, ping the Acolyte so that Aftershock draws another card and then fill up his own hand with Divine Favor. So that could have been his strategy
Ah,
here.
yeah. Yeah, I think his strategy is certainly to dump his hand as fast as possible here.
Hmm. We might see a Primordial Glyph here because he might want to Frostbolt the Murloc War Leader, ping the 1/1, but then he needs something else. Yeah,
He's got enough burn in his hand now. Saving perhaps that 0 mana Frostbolt for the Antonidas.
which is going to be very, very strong. And I think that's another reason why Primordial Glyph is such a huge boost to the Freeze Mage.
Exactly. I mean, imagine he could potentially play Antonidas on turn 9 with the 0 mana Frostbolt glyph into another 2 or less mana spell he could play immediately also.
But then we should also see that with the new Year of the Mammoth replacing the Year of the Kraken, something like old standard cards, staple cards in Freeze Mage like Thorison are no longer available. So having the Frostbolt here for 0 mana, it basically feels a bit like a Thorison
Yeah,
tick. He's not
it's
going to
it's
playing
kind of,
Smuggler's Run beforehand. He's still trying to dump his hand.
he could be thinking about getting maximum value out of Smuggler's Run, drawing to a very large hand size with Divine Favor and then smuggling around all those minions. Because it looks like he's got quite a high minion density deck. Um,
Hmm. We might just see the Blizzard here, but it would probably be a bit of a waste of time. It's still his only board clear.
and the Finja can't.
Ooh,
It can't.
Meteor is a very strong, strong one here, I would say.
Yeah, it's just an extremely strong card.
The Polymorph, Potion of Polymorph doesn't do much against a deck with a lot of cheap minions. Arcane Explosion, it's not enough to kill off most minions except
No,
the
the Silver
Silver
Hammer
Age.
Boots.
And I think that's our Counter-Strike A stream in the background, being very excited.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's got to be the Meteor, and the Finja doesn't even have a minion to attack and kill and bring out more Murlocs. So
that's correct.
potentially he could hit face and reveal the stealth, and you could Meteor it, or it's,
Well, he went
he's
for
gone
the
for the
Arcane Explosion, probably having Antonidas in his
yeah
mind
yeah
again.
yeah yeah. So
And the Ice Barrier. And this is what I meant. He having here the Oracle, which could draw 2 cards for both players, would be very, very enticing because Aftershock would overdraw by then. He
yes,
hasn't drawn Alex Straza yet, so it could potentially be absolutely devastating. Um, hmm,
it's
Probably the
it's
Chum.
certainly not the Seer. Your opponent isn't going to be playing many small minions. Um,
Maybe the
he's
Inquisitor to get a few Murlocs out there.
yeah
With a War Leader, it might be enticing.
yeah. All of a sudden, those hero
And it
powers
has
are
3
three
health, which
twos.
is also something relevant to see here.
Yeah, resistant to Blizzard. So he does come out with a Divine Favor,
Huh.
drawing up to 9 cards.
It's odd that he did not play the Walfen Inquisitor before that, but maybe that's precisely because he wanted to get the boost from Smuggler's Run
Mm.
to get as much board presence here as possible. Popping the Ice Barrier, and then getting the damage in. But I think Freeze Mage is still in a very, very good spot here. He
Absolutely.
could go Doomsayer Frost Nova here,
Yeah, it's certainly available.
killing the Finja as well.
Decides to save the Frost Nova.
Huh.
Ooh, there is.
Does have Tomagwai the one damage to kill the...
It doesn't look like it. With all his minions frozen,
He would have needed a charge Murloc, and we've already seen one, so...
yeah. And he can't fish for it with Divine Favor.
It was a very
So
weak
now
turn for Tomagwai.
we see the
Now we've
Alexstrasza.
seen the Alexstrasza, that's going to have a huge impact.
Perhaps the Blizzard was played over the Frost Nova just because it really serves the same role, and maybe you should play the one that's
A
more
bit cheaper,
expensive
yeah.
when you can
To
have the
keep the
mana
one
for
that's
it.
cheaper, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I think that's just GG here.
Yeah, with only minions in hand, he can't really do anything to prevent the Alexstrasza hit the face.
No. He
Or
could try the
ensuing
gentle
burn.
Megazaur to adapt into
Into
taunt.
taunt, yes. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's really the only play he's available
Just
here.
play as many cheap Murlocs as he can.
Yeah. Hoping for a lot of taunt here. Hoping for taunt here. Maybe he could have actually thought about
Hang on,
playing both
he's not
Megazaur.
going to play more? Yeah. I think that makes more sense.
This is a very odd. I would have
Yeah, so he
went
could have
for
played the
the
two 1-drop Murlocs and
yeah.
both the...
Megazaurs, yes. Because he needed to maximize the chance of getting taunt. He must know that there could be something like Frostbolt, the Pyroblast, Fireball.
Especially with the game going on for so long. It's also almost inconceivable that Mage doesn't have, 6 points of burn in his hand, plus the ping.
But maybe he was just playing for the win, thinking maybe the Freeze Mace does not have any burn on his hand, and then actually getting out as much damage as possible is his only path to victory.
Yeah.
So I can see why Tomagwai did it. But it was not going to save him
Playing
this
his
time.
outs, basically.
So we're at 1-1. It's going into the third and final match. So we have
Aftershock on the Rogue now.
on the rope versus the
Versus the Paladin.
versus the Paladin.
Versus the Paladin.
Yes, that's correct.
So we'll see what type of Rogue he's bringing here.
Oh,
And
the gadget then.
It looks to be Miracle.
Yes, with one cleave.
And no quest, of course.
And no quest, yes. That gives it away.
So what... You know your opponent's deck. What I'd be tempted to keep the Eviscerate, certainly, for the early game answer.
And to be honest, I think keeping Van Cleef is also a good choice, because he knows that Tamagwai does not have an answer to a really huge minion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's probably not even going to...
Perhaps save the Journey Below for the combo out for the large Van Cleef later. It's tempting.
It's also tempting to
very
just
greedy.
coin out the Van Cleef on the second turn to get a 4-4
Yeah.
that can deal with most of the minions. Xariel is a very, very strong pickup here. It's a card that not that many rogues run anymore at the moment, because there's just so little space in the deck, but picking it up from a card like Journey Below is certainly very important. And I think we might see the Van Cleef actually here now.
Yeah, there's not really many lines open to him. He could coin the SI7, but that doesn't really impact the board. Doesn't kill any minions. If he wants to enable combo on the Eviscerate, he has to coin anyway, and of course that's very inefficient. So it looks like it could be the only play here.
But he would not have a very... I mean, he would then be able to play the SI7 as a 3-3 in the third turn, so he does have some kind of curve.
Yeah. And the 4-4 trades very favourably into the current board state.
He could also simply dagger up now and play Xaria in the third turn by coining him out, but that could be a bit too slow against this very aggressive Murloc deck.
Yeah, and also the 3-2. No, the 3-2 of course isn't too bad into 2-4 with the weapon.
And I think we're going to see the Van Cleef here.
Yep.
I think that's certainly the right play. So what do you think? What are the chances here?
Um, I think the the rogue hasn't had a bad start with the Van Cleave coming out, but his options look. He's got a curve. He's got a curve. It's not particularly tempo heavy, with the SI7 not combo enabled and the Zarol only being a 3-2 on the board. So perhaps Tom O'Guy has a chance to snowball the board.
Something like a backstab would be very, very strong here.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but that's not it. So
Just
we
yeah,
could
the
see an
value trade.
eviscerate on the 3-2 actually. Because he has two of the eviscerates now, he needs to prevent any more damage coming in. But he just goes for the SI7, and I think that's also a very defensible line of play here.
Yeah, I think Tom O'Guy is almost forced to trade the 3-2 in to stop the trade onto the 2-3. So it might just kind of
And
have the
in
same
the
effect.
lower corner of the screen, we could just see another former Cambridge player going 10-2 in the arena, which is also so. Shout out to Dan Shine here. He was playing in 2015 when we also had the first Varsity Cambridge University Digital Gaming Society event going on, also with the streaming. Um,
And notably, one of the upcoming Oxford players for the games ahead uh, actually managed to make it onto the EU Top 50 arena rankings.
that is really, really
I
impressive and
think he was
also quite
something
scary.
like 30th, something like that.
That's
So it's
massive.
very impressive indeed.
I mean, we've just seen Meaty already being a top 50 legend player.
So the standard quite high among some players. Um, so what are we looking at for this turn ahead?
I think he wants to play Xariel here. I think
With the
maybe
option of prep eviscerate. Um,
that
but
would cost a lot of cards. It wouldn't be really that efficient because
yeah, I mean you're only really removing a 2-2. It's not.
the noble sacrifice. Maybe he's just not going to attack here and waits. Uh,
Yeah, I
but
mean
the Fate Leaf Toxin certainly is a very, very strong card, especially now that Conceal has gone out of standard. It's going to enable him potentially to have a concealed Gadgetzan.
oh absolutely, yeah.
So that's actually a huge draw, I would say.
Just needs that gadget sound, of course.
And with Prep and Eviscerates on his hand, it could be really, really strong if the Gadgetzan is finally drawn. But that's the old curse of the Miracle Rogue. It's not drawing the Gadgetzan because it's in the bottom two cards of his deck. The Firebloom Toxin is certainly also very welcome. It's going to clear
Mm.
out the 2-2 and enable the Eviscerate. So
Eviscerate into the 4-4, very nice trade indeed. Yeah. So you'd have 2 mana left over. Potentially Hero Power, or you might even prep out the Eviscerate so you can play Sherazan.
and then still clear the 2-2 with the Fire Bloom. It's a lot of cards in one turn, but without the gadgets on hand, it might very well be the correct line of play. Well, he decides not to, probably thinking that the preparation and eviscerates are also going to come in handy when Sherazin goes dormant.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you play 4 cards in a turn, this minion is going to be revived. It's one of the new additions to Miracle Rogue. But Divine Favor is very, very strong here.
Yeah.
Oh, and Aftershock says mistakes were made. Probably acknowledging that it now looks very, very dire for
A
him.
lot of damage coming into his face here.
And probably he's also realizing that he should have prepped out the Eviscerate the turn before.
Mm.
Well,
He has
he can
a lot
clear
of
the
options
board.
available
He
here.
can trade in this Sherazin and then play 4 spells to revive him immediately.
Yeah, with perhaps the double prep eviscerate into the Slayer.
And then he can still play the Arcane Giant because the Arcane Giant is going to be. Oh, that's a He could have played prep, and I think this is a mistake actually. He could have just prepped eviscerate
Do you
with.
play the Toxin just to get the Charizard back?
I think
I
you
think
have
you
to.
do, yeah.
Well,
1 mana 5/3. That's got to be.
well, I think it's yeah.
Hmm.
It also makes sense. It's but maybe getting out the giant would have been.
So what do we have in the hand of Tomogwai? No charges left, notably.
But he's probably going to be able to. Yeah, the grind
Getting a,
street outfitter
get a
to
lot of value out of that.
with no blade flurry left anymore at the Miracle Rogue's disposal. It's very very hard to remove that board.
Hmm.
You see a lot of buffs, 5 cards on his hand being getting +1/+1. The Murloc War Leader.
And potentially the 1 mana Murloc on the Noble Sack just to try and protect his board so he can push in that damage to face next turn.
Yes. And I think going face is a correct line of play here. The 5/3 is not going to do much. And I think that's game. He would have had to draw the Gadgetzan for a very strong. Yes, he can eviscerate his Thalnos to see what he gets, but I think that's game.
Yeah, it's not looking good at all.
Which means that after 2 games of Oxford versus Cambridge and Hearthstone, we're at 1-1, and it's getting very tense.
Yeah, at least it's not a complete whitewash one side or the other. So it's
But then Cambridge, having
what we
lost
like to see.
already League of Legends and Overwatch, it's not going to look good this time. We need this win in Hearthstone.
And with the war leader,
That's game.
that will be the game.
So well
Well
done on
done to
Tamagwai and
Mogwai.
Aftershock.
Well
It's
played.
a 2-1, and we're now cutting off the stream for